It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio today. We're with the Mental Health Coalition. Their phone number is 649-0135. We have Barbara Luttrell and Lori Morrison. Welcome to studio.
Thank you, Paul.
It's good to see you back, Barbara. You always bring something interesting to the table when you come in. We're talking about the Mental Health Coalition. It's mentalhealthcoalitionvv.org is the website, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all the information we talk about today can be on there and then even more. So let's get right into it. What is the Mental Health Coalition and when and how did it form?
Okay. The Mental Health Coalition was formed in November of 2013, and it came about because there was a statewide conversation about mental health issues in Arizona, and Yavapai College participated in it. I facilitated the event that evening, and we were talking about local areas, we were talking about local issues related to mental illness, and at the end of the evening, people wanted to do something more. And so I suggested we get together and see if there's a coalition to be formed. They wanted to do it. 2 months later, it was formed. That was September. In November, it was formed. And we've been meeting monthly for about a year and a half. And it's made up of I have about 100 people that are involved in the coalition in one way or another.
Okay. How many?
About 100.
About 100 people, and
Yes.
then just in the last year and a half to 2 years.
The last year and a half.
Okay.
Exactly.
So who's making up the coalition? What kind of people are we talking about that are on this?
The coalition is made up of, well, for example, we have medical professionals, we have law enforcement professionals, the sheriff, the head of the county jail, and others from the jail where they have the new behavioral health unit, and those who minister to people who are in jail and provide the health services. We have people who are other medical professionals in the area, as well as a lot of individuals who, in one way or another, are interested in the mental health issues and are willing to give their time to work for the community.
We were talking before the show that I don't think there's a week that goes by that you don't hear something about mental health illnesses, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. It seems like it's every week now. I can remember a day when it wasn't like that, but it is now. So that's obviously what helped form this and get it going.
Absolutely. And, you know, the statistics from the National Alliance on Mental Illness talk about the fact that 1 in 4 adults will experience mental illness in a given year. And so, yes, it is very prevalent, and it touches every family and every neighborhood. And so when the coalition was formed, the goal started out originally, it was at Christ Lutheran Church, they had a task force on mental health after the Newtown shootings, and it was because they were trying to determine how to keep a community safe. And so when our coalition formed, we kind of merged. So it really is about keeping a community safe and making everyone feel included, and those who are living with mental illness not to have the stigma, but to be able to live productive lives in the community, and for the community to be a compassionate, caring community. And Laura, if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, we have been very lucky to have developed some very strong task forces of people with a lot of background in some of these areas. We're really excited about the Veterans Task Force, mostly working with PTSD, and we have a gentleman who's retired in Sedona, now working with, had worked at Fort Hood in Texas, and is now bringing some of his ideas to the community. We do have a lot of retired people who have backgrounds in psychology and other areas that relate to mental health, and they're volunteering. So we're bringing together a really interesting group of resources. We also have a family and children task force that we're working on, and then we'll be talking a little bit later about the suicide task force as well. So this umbrella has created a lot of really exciting and dynamic task force.
You hear that a lot about the Verde Valley and Sedona area, though, too. So many people from all across the different parts of the country come here and settle in. And I think they get kind of bored. And they're like, okay, what can we volunteer in? And they bring all this expertise.
We go find them.
That's right. That's right. And once you discover them,
they bring a lot of expertise to the table, though, across the
Yeah.
gamut. So here's another factor of that. Mental health. Now, it runs quite a gamut. You said 1 in 4 per year. So what kind of mental health issues are we talking about? Can we kind of lump that down? I mean, there's I don't want to say there's basic or simple ones, but
no, they're actually serious ones.
There's really serious
SMI, serious mental illness.
Okay.
And so there you're looking at bipolar, schizophrenia.
You know what
depression.
I'm going for here. Okay.
What was the last one you said?
Levels of depression.
Deep levels of depression. And then you have the rest of the spectrum, which includes anxiety, depression, food disorders, substance abuse disorders, or substance use disorders is how they really phrase it. And so
traumas, all kinds of levels of trauma.
that's right. That's right. And of course now there's the ACE study, which are adverse childhood experiences. So they're finding that a lot, I guess it's Kaiser Permanente has done this study of about 17,000 of their patients to determine whether or not childhood experiences have affected later life in terms of mental illness, and they're finding very strong numbers in that area. So when you look at it, when you have children who are in abusive situations, and you have all of these things going on in our society now, we're seeing a very strong effect on the mental health of our citizens. And so it runs the gamut. It's anything that really interrupts your ability to have good relationships and to lead your daily life.
That's a good way to put it. That's what I was kind of looking for, so that folks watching and listening know that it's not just this extreme case over here, that it does run a big gamut.
And I think that is what's really, what is really helpful is trying to give people some definitions. I think that's a great idea, because sometimes we don't realize that we're suffering from a mental health illness. And we just think we're having a tough time or something bad day. But if it's a prolonged event that's going on, maybe it's time to take a harder look at what's going on. There could be chemical imbalances. There could be all kinds of issues that are, environmental issues that are causing that. So it's not something to just sit on and sit home and say, well, I hope I'll get better, I'll cheer up, or something like that. Because seeking help is very important, that this does not become a prolonged thing in your life.
Does it become harder for somebody with mental health issues if they wait longer and longer to actually take that step?
Yes, in fact, this is one of the problems that we have, is people wait so long. I think the average, Barbara, I can't remember, 10 years, people will wait.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
The average is 10 years before people will seek help. Well, consider the stigma associated with it.
Okay.
I mean, there are people who, when they are diagnosed with something like schizophrenia or bipolar, it can affect how you are perceived at your job, in your community, in your family, and the goal of it all is really to have conversations so that you demystify all of these things. And if someone had cancer, would you ignore them? If someone had diabetes, are we ignoring people with diabetes? I mean, at one time, cancer was the big C that you didn't talk about. And mental illness is kind of in that range right now. And so we have to bring it into the mainstream of a brain disorder. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. And so if we can, as Lori said, change the conversation and have the conversation so that people know that it's okay to talk about it, there's help available, and there's hope for recovery. I mean, people live with mental illnesses. And in fact, there's a program that NAMI, which is, as I mentioned, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, there's a program they have locally called the Voices of NAMI, I believe it is, and In Our Own Voices. And individuals who are living with mental illness will go out and speak to groups so that you take away that stigma, and they are just like you and me.
There you go. That's a good one. Okay, we have to take our first break. Phone number 6490135 for more information. Also, Mental Health Coalition, vv.org. This is countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
It's your home, it's your dream. Radon test and keep it healthy and clean. Make it green, green, green.
Making it green is making sure the air in your home is healthy for your family to breathe. Make sure you test your home for the presence of radon. It's easy. To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN. Preserve your family's health and well-being. Get your home tested. Now that's living healthy and green.
Green, green, green. It's your home, it's your dream. Radon testing, keep it healthy and clean. Make it green, green, green.
To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness. I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Welcome back to Countywide. Barbara Luttrell and Lori Morrison in studio today with the Mental Health Coalition. The phone number is 928-649-0135. You can also go to mentalhealthcoalitionvv.org for more information. We've talked about the coalition and who makes it up. What have you guys accomplished in the last year and a half to 2 years that you've been in operation?
I'll start. Some of the things that we accomplished, well, we wanted to actually have accomplishments rather than spend a lot of time figuring out what the organization was like.
Well, thank you for that.
The first year, the first thing we did was put together a list of resources, and we published a 32-page guide to the resources in the Verde Valley and put them all together. Rose Berner of NAMI was very instrumental in bringing that together. And so now on our website, it's been updated and added to, and is continually a dynamic listing. And so we have the equivalent of 36 pages of listings.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if someone is wondering where to go for what, that's a start.
A lot of help out there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the first thing we did was a list of resources. The second thing we did was developed Mental Health Awareness Month last year, Mental Health Awareness Week. We did 12 events in 7 days last year in May. And our goal was to eliminate the stigma, or begin to eliminate the stigma. And so we had speakers, we had panels, we had movies, community conversations, and community gatherings and rituals to honor those who have died and those who are living with mental illness. So we did that last year. And then in September, we did the summit. It was the Mental Health Summit, and the goal was to find out if we in this county and in this area of the Verde Valley are in crisis. And we had experts speak on law enforcement and what's going on in the prisons, on PTSD and addictions, and drug abuse. We had people talk about living with mental illness who are currently living with it. And we had a speaker from Phoenix kind of give us the overview of what's going on in the state. I mean, the state has a crisis in mental illness and how we are giving access to services. And so I think over the last year, we've raised the level of conversation about mental illness. We also did a suicide prevention sign at Midgley Bridge, which is a suicide hotline. So there's a phone number listed there because, as you know, that's been the site of a number of suicides.
There was quite
over
a few
the
there
years.
last year.
Over the years, yes.
So crisis, you used the word crisis a couple of times. Are the heads of the state agreeing with this, that we have a crisis in the state?
I think certainly the people who spoke at our Mental Health Summit certainly agreed with the word crisis, because no one wants to talk about crisis.
Right, that's a big word to
easily
use to describe something.
Because when you talk about it, you must be called to action. And you know, for example, the sheriff talking about mental illness in the jails, where it's at 60% of the people that are in jail are suffering from a mental illness. Sometimes they're only first diagnosed when they were arrested for something. And so what does that do to how you treat a whole inmate population? And so yes, and in this area, I think there is a crisis in access to services became evident during that particular coalition meeting, as well as over the past year and a half, that it is difficult to get what you need.
How bad locally is it really bad in terms of mental health?
Yes, we found from the panel that I think, when we say the word crisis, I think we can talk about a lot of different levels of crisis. It's not that we're, all just standing around waiting for something bad to happen. But I think when we don't have the level of services that we need, when people don't have access to a psychiatrist or psychology efforts, I think that there is a crisis because we are creating a lack of people with a lack of the resources to get better. So then that turns into issues going forward. So we're trying to go back and look at some of these root causes and get to those, so that when they are out there on the dealing with life, that they have tools and resources to deal with it. When they don't, we have a serious problem. They end up in jail. They end up in crises within the family. Unfortunately, law enforcement right now is the ones who's really on the first call to a mental illness. A lot of times they don't have the skills to deal with it completely, although they do a very good job. But it's, how do we deal with this problem? And we've seen with the drug addictions, one thing that surprised me being in the coalition was how many drugs induce mental illness. So even though it's a drug problem, it eventually becomes a mental illness because of issues with the brain. So if we have a higher drug problem, we'll have a higher mental illness problem, and that's going up. So with those issues all together, we have a crisis, and I think that it's, unless we focus on it, and especially on the stigma, which we worked on last year, was our big push. If we can't get people to realize they have a problem, then we have an even bigger problem because we're always dealing with a crisis.
Gotcha. Maybe we should jump into Mental Health Mondays, because that's one way to kind of deal with some of this, to help. What are those, Mental Health Mondays?
Well, we're going to be starting, our first one is this Monday.
February 22nd.
February 22nd, and it's at the Yavapai College building there in Sedona, at the gateway of Sedona. We're going to have a speaker, John Shooter, who is going to talk about suicide. And John believes that suicide is preventable, and so we're going to learn some skills and ideas from his background. That's from 9:30 to 10:30. And we also are going to have a film in the evening. This will be an ongoing series where the last Monday of every month, there will be something related to mental illness that day. So we will have 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning, a speaker, and then in the evening a film that relates somewhat to that topic. All of the community is invited to come. We pick different topics every month, so it's never the same. So you can always get information on our website to see what's the latest topic for that month. It's usually very well attended. We invite people who will work in that field to come, not only to learn more about what's going on in their community, but also people who are having issues in their own family or just want to help. Sometimes we just, what we've been working with also is mental health first aid, because a lot of us don't know what to do if someone's having a psychic attack or a panic attack or whatever. So what we encourage people to do is to, just like we would know how to do CPR or how to do any other first help to somebody, this is also an opportunity which will be in March, so you can keep in touch with us on those dates as well. But this is part of our awareness program, taking away the stigma, being able to identify mental illness, and talking to really some great experts in our community who have been willing to come and talk to our group is really a great opportunity for the community to know more about mental illness.
Let's take our second break. MentalHealthCoalitionVB.org is the website. The phone number is 6490135. We're talking with Barbara Luttrell and Lori Morrison with the Mental Health Coalition countywide. Back in just a moment.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you.
getting that college education. What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else? Or will you dare do something different? Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills. The smarts? Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget. That would be cool. Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself? What are you gonna make of me?
Most party fouls? Not a big deal. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
My name's Eddie Metcalf. I enjoy working in my yard. And, you know, I can't do that anymore because I'm missing most of my lung. They did a CAT scan of my kidneys. No more kidney stones, that's the good news, but we found a spot on your lung. That frankly scared the hell out of me. I hadn't smoked in 22 years. How could this happen to me? He said, well, you know about radon gas. Well, you know, I heard about it. He said, well, the second leading cause of cancer in America is radon. 22,000 people a year die from this. I literally left the doctor's office, got a test kit, put it in the house, and our result was 39.8. The upper limit is 4. We got to get this fixed. That was on a Monday, and on Wednesday, our mitigation system was up and running. Well, I think everybody should have their house tested. We'd never known we'd still be living there. I could get another tumor from it. But right now, it's changing my life.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've only got a couple minutes left of the program. Again, Mental Health Coalition, bb.org or 649-0135 for more information. We talked about the Mental Health Monday coming up on Monday, February 22nd, 9:30 to 10:30. That's the morning. And that's at the Yavapai College campus in Sedona at the Gateway there. Mental health first aid classes, that's something else we're doing.
One of our goals this year is to have mental health first aid classes, which we do in partnership with Spectrum. They provide the professional instructors for it. And we plan to do it every 2 months. We did our first one in January in Clarkdale, and we will be doing the next one March 18th in the village of Oak Creek. It goes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and at the end of the day, you receive a certificate. And the goal of the mental health first aid is for ordinary members of the community or professionals, very often first responders, police, fire, et cetera, or educators, come to learn about what to do in a situation where someone is in emotional distress. I think, Laura, you just went through the program.
Yes, and I would recommend it for any family member who's having issues or maybe not quite sure how to deal with one of their members of their family to go to this.
And I went to it, I guess, a few months ago, and not having been involved in that specifically, it was very eye-opening, because when you see someone in distress, you're not sure if it's appropriate to speak to them, to ask them questions that relate to what they seem to be experiencing. Sure. But as I say, if somebody's having a heart attack, what are you going to do? If you know CPR, you're going to administer CPR. If they're choking, you're going to administer the Heimlich maneuver. Well, this is kind of CPR for the brain. And so if someone is having an emotionally distressful time, this mental health first aid teaches you how to ask them questions, how to keep them calm, and how to try to encourage them to seek help. Or if it's a really bad situation, you yourself call 911 in order to get them help.
That makes sense.
So it's really neighbors helping neighbors, and that's really the goal. I mean, if we can build a compassionate, caring community, we will all be ahead of the game.
There we go. We're out of time. Mental Health Coalition members Barbara Luttrell, Lori Morrison were in studio today. The number again, 649-0135. The website is mentalhealthcoalitionvb.org. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you.